Hi there, welcome to the National Parks Photography Program. It's been a while, obviously. I thought I would do just kind of a quick end of year, looking ahead to the next year video. Haven't done anything on the channel in a while, and I'd like to get back to that in some form. So as good a time of year as any to do that. So I think what I'll do first is I'm going to start just kind of looking back at my 2019 briefly, and then look ahead to 2020 and some of my goals and plans for the next year. And so pretty straightforward video here. Thinking back to 2019, I didn't get to a ton of different national parks in the last year. Having a small child has changed my abilities to travel a little bit, but it's still, I have some really exciting stuff coming up for the next year, so I can't complain at all. I did get down to Arizona in February. We do that once a year and visit my parents. And so that had some opportunities with it. I got down to Saguaro National Park a little bit. Probably the most exciting new park I was at this year was Chiricahua National Monument in southern Arizona, and did a really awesome hike there. Got one or two pictures that I'm happy with. I was there kind of midday, so it wasn't like the best time ever for photography, but it wasn't like a super bright, harsh day either. As I said, I got some photos that I think represent Chiricahua pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with. Moving through the rest of the year, I showed less this year than I had in the past couple years. I had some conflicts come up, but I think my show booth is continuing to get better, and both in terms of the quality of the work and the quality of the booth itself. So that's exciting to see, and something I hope to continue. And then in my role at University of Wisconsin-Green Bay, I'm the campus photographer and videographer there. And so we've had a lot of growth there. Took some photos I'm really happy with. Did some video work I'm really happy with. We were able to add a new team member, so that's really exciting looking ahead for that part of my professional role. I think 2019 was kind of a setting the stage sort of year for what's coming up over the next few years. So very forward-looking and exciting in that way. In terms of gear, it's nothing. I didn't buy a whole lot of new gear. I'm trying to think of, I bought the NP₃ that's recording this the end of 2018, so that wasn't new. A couple of Fuji lenses that I should do reviews. I'll talk about that kind of in a minute, but probably the most used lens was my 23mm 1.4, because it's like super great. I like that focal length as a walk-around lens, and I like that 35mm equivalent. It's great in the house, chasing my daughter around and shallow depth of field and being able to get really close and get some fun images of her. So that's been something I've used quite a bit. Looking ahead to 2020, I do have a few things planned that should be exciting. Again, going to Arizona coming up during the winter. I don't have any parks visits planned. I have a couple things, if the timing works out, I'd like to do while I'm down there. I'm looking at maybe a spring trip. I have some time and some kind of a list. I have a big list of parks I'd like to get to, but a few destinations in mind, thinking potentially South Florida and Biscayne Bay and Everglades, and hopefully dry tortugas, Big Cypress, all that stuff down in South Florida I would love to get to. So that's a possibility. And then the big trip over the summer is we'll be going to Alaska It's my parents' 50th anniversary. They've decided to treat everyone to, which is incredible, a cruise and a stay in Alaska. So we'll be doing the Inside Passage, which gets you into Glacier Bay and actually part of the shoreline for Wrangell St. Elias, and then up into Denali for quite a few days once we get off the ship in Anchorage, head up to Denali. So that, you know, for years when I'm exhibiting in my show booth, people look at my work and be like, oh, do you have anything from Alaska? Do you have anything from Alaska? And no, I don't. And oh, you've got to get to Alaska. So this is super exciting for me to have the chance to get up to Alaska and do some photography of, I mean, there's a lot of national parks up there, but particularly Denali, have a chance to hopefully get some really good images of the scenery up there and then all the wildlife too. That's super exciting. In terms of gear, I don't have any plans to buy anything. I'm really happy with the gear I have. The only thing I could see doing is, I can't think of the name of the company. There's a company that came out with a 90 millimeter autofocus lens for Fuji that's been pretty well received, and they're coming out supposedly with a 23 and a 50 or 55. Which I have those two primes as Fuji lenses, and so some third-party options, because those fast primes are things I like to have. They're really awesome, but if the price is right and I can free up some money by selling my Fuji ones and buying some third-party lenses, like I wish Sigma would make stuff for Fuji, because I would. For those kind of lenses that are, like I said, nice to have, but not the core of what I'm using, I wouldn't mind freeing up some money there. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm really happy with what I have, so I'm not in any particular hurry to go out and buy a bunch of gear. I would like to do some reviews if I do, especially if I'm going to sell off any of my lenses. I'd like to review them first, which brings me to my plans for the channel. Like I said, I haven't been doing a lot. It takes time. I do have a new computer. Actually, that's the thing I got last year. I got a new computer, and I'm the sort that tends to just like, I don't buy new computers frequently. I use them until they're like really obsolete and I can't take it anymore, and then buy something new. So I got a new PC, nothing super fancy, but it's gonna make editing these videos like way faster, because the old one really wasn't up to it, and now I have enough memory and processing power to actually like render video and not, you know, tens of hours of time. With the channel, you know, I have long-term goals, and I would like to grow the channel. And one of my challenges has always been, in terms of content, I've done some gear review videos, and I like gear, and I get excited about gear. I'm a photo nerd like anyone else. And but there's also like so many people who do gear reviews really well. But then again, they're also like the videos that I do that get the most views as people are looking for things. So it's kind of thing where I'll probably want to, in the future, do more gear reviews, but I don't know that it makes sense for that to be the heart of my channel. And then I would also do sort of overviews, as you'll see if you look back through my history. Overviews, guides for photographers at different national parks. And the challenge I've had there was, I mean, I could do a 5-hour video on one park and still just sort of be touching on what a photographer would want to know before they travel somewhere. And I don't want to make a 5-hour video, no one wants to watch that. And at the same time, there are people who live like right outside of any one of these parks who can go in every day of the week and are like super expert on the park. And so all the parks I go to, like I'm visiting them, and I have experience in them, and it's not like what I'm saying is invalid. I think it's good advice. But, to talk about a whole park, I'm sure there's stuff that's awesome. That would be kind of the insidery tips that I'm just not aware of. And so, I don't know about that. And then the flip side is I've done some videos about like one specific photo I took and how I took that photo and edited it. And that's like almost too narrowly focused. So a whole park is really too broad, especially for me in the YouTube format. And a specific photo is probably too narrow. So thinking about how I can do videos that maybe focus on one trail that I've done or one section of the park where I really feel comfortable with it. And I think I can offer something that's useful to viewers and in-depth enough so that if you're a photographer that's going to be hiking this trail that I've done, I can really talk about what to expect and what to look for, but without being, trying to pretend to be broader than I can really provide good information for. So I don't know that I'm going to get started on those videos like right today or tomorrow, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about for the channel and where I can I don't see a lot of that kind of content on YouTube. And so it's something where I think I can do something different. I could contribute and really be useful to other photographers and also without, making videos that are too long or sort of beyond things that I can speak to authoritatively. So that's something I would like to start experimenting with in the next year. I don't know I'm going to have a regular schedule of those, but that's kind of what I'm thinking for the channel. I'd like to grow my use of Instagram in the next year. And then I've been doing a project for a few months now actually, where I went back through like all of my tens of thousands of national parks photos and kind of looked at like every one of them with a new eye. And some of them, even things where, I shot a panorama and then kind of forgot I had shot a panorama and never really stitched it together, and working through all of those options. And I've kind of brought that collection down to, say, my just over 500 best photos, which is still a lot. And so I'm editing, doing like a good but not super thorough edit of all 500 of those photos. So I'm saying, doing maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour of time, maybe even like less, I'd say 10 to 20 minutes of time, editing each one of those photos just to like sort of see what's possible with each of those. And then I'll cull those down. And so I'm trying to put together the strongest collection of my work that's possible. And my dream is to one day publish a book, and so look at where I've been in the national parks and what do I have that would make something that's of a high enough quality, and I have the work to do that. It's do I have, how do you break that down? Because if I have 20 pictures of one park that are great and only one of this other park, that's kind of an imbalance. So figuring out how to put the collection together the right way and how to, with the editing of them, do I have to make some adjustments so that they all look like the most cohesive, sort of point of view, style-wise as I can make them. And then looking at, so that's where I talk about like South Florida or going to Alaska. There's probably 5 or 6 different destinations that I know to really do this right I would need to get to, and that certainly isn't going to be every park, or certainly isn't all 420 or whatever it is park sites in the system, but sort of a representative sample. And then the writing side, I've done a little bit of writing and trying to think about how I can write about the parks. I mean, it's not going to be a novel, it's going to be more little poems or little vignettes that support each of, whether it's I have a section about mountains and here's some writing that supports that, So that's it. I mean, and I'm talking like a 5-year timeline for this project, but trying to put that together and get a real feel for where I am now so I could grow from there. And then all of that is like great content for Instagram and things I can talk about on the channel too. So, and then of course, continuing to improve on my booth and my print sales and things like that. So I mean, that's a lot of project looking ahead for 2020, but I'm pretty excited about it and I'm feeling pretty motivated, which is good. You know, my daughter's just turned 2, so super energetic and taking a ton of time to chase her around, but also starting to show a little bit of independence and, you know, not necessarily, you know, obviously not needing to be held all the time and things like that. So that's an exciting time as a parent, but you know, something I have to work. You know, I've got the regular job at the university, photographing there and growing that and improving that, and then I've got family life, and those things in the other family than the university are like kind of the main focuses of my time, and then finding the time to work on my national parks projects and be motivated in that, and that seems to have gone well in the last year as Eleanor's gotten older. So I'm looking forward to continuing that and doing more work and being more present in this space in the next, into the future, whatever that means. And then hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have sort of a feel for where the YouTube channel fits into my just my workflow and into my life and into the time I have, and you know, what space am I going to use to record in, and all those kind of details. But anyways, so that's kind of my look forward to 2020, and hopefully it'll be less than a year and a quarter, whatever it's been, before I'm posting again. But thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you have any suggestions based on what I talked about content-wise, or things I didn't talk about that you would like to see me touch on in YouTube videos, I would love to get suggestions from viewers, so leave those in the comments. That would be awesome. Otherwise, you know, have a great 2020, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Bye-bye.